I'd like to suggest a series of further reflective exercises that would be most valuable for you as a teacher who would like to understand your own history, your own past more deeply. This is a way, in slide 9, of expanding your empathic vision by embodying the experience, or re-embodying the experience of what it is to be a child. So let's go through it as a reflective exercise, shall we? The first one. Recall your most difficult time in school. You don't need to relive it, but from a distance to recall it. Or perhaps just think of one of your most difficult experiences in school. When that was going on for you, what should have happened differently? What did you most need? When that stuff happens to a child, what should be done for that child? Or what should the child be allowed to do for themselves? The next question is, think of your most enjoyable time in school. Your most successful time, perhaps, when you felt the best about yourself and the people around you. A most happy time in school. Might have been to do with your studies, or might have been a social kind of a thing, or a sporting thing, or a moment with somebody special. When that was going on for you, what was it that helped you to feel that way? What was going on around you? What was happening to you? Or what was it that you were allowed to express of yourself that helped you to feel that happy and that empowered? The next question. Think of a teacher that you most disliked when you were at school. Perhaps you didn't have a teacher that you really despised. Just the teacher that you felt like you liked them the least of all. Now, it's not that I want to encourage you to think meanly of that person. But what was it within that relationship that was so difficult for you? What was missing? Or what was unhelpful to you? Can you unpack that? I don't want to condemn that person, that teacher, but think about, even if at first it's the thoughts come to you in blamey or judgmental terms, what was it about that teacher that made things difficult for you? The issue is not the teacher, the issue is the conditions that were unhelpful to you as a child. That gives you so many vital clues to what you don't want to have happen for the students in front of you. Now think about your most beloved teacher. What was it about them? What was it about their manner? What was it about the things they did? Or things that they didn't do? What attracted you to that teacher? What is it about them that brings back pleasure in your heart when you think about them? And it's not only about the nature of the teacher, but it's really the conditions that that teacher helped to bring about for you. That gives you powerful clues about what you would like to bring about for your students. Now, what was your most disliked or perhaps even hated subject in school? Can you think of anything that would have transformed the delivery of that subject so that you would have enjoyed it more? Or perhaps do you wish that you didn't have to study that thing at all? or do that activity? How could that have been done differently for you? You see, I'm deliberately inviting for you to validate the wishes, even the unmet wishes that you had when you were a child, when you were a student. By validating those deep needs, you're simultaneously recognizing something that wounded you when it was not available, when that need was not met. And that's such powerful information. It gives you such new insight, intuition about the needs of your students. It helps you naturally to have a deeper empathy for them. And they pick up on that immediately. Your students know when they don't feel judged by you. They know when they have your empathy, when you can see deeply into them. Think also now of your most beloved subject. How did the pleasure that you gain from this subject, the enjoyment that you gain from this subject, how did that impact your performance in this subject? What is the role of enjoyment, playfulness in your study life? What might have made it even more interesting for you as a learning experience? And now I have a challenge for you. I'm inviting you to challenge yourself to learn a new skill. Something that is at least going to be of some use to you. And especially, see if you can become a learner all over again of whatever that might be, a new language, a new hobby, a new sport, a new skill with your hands, a new musical instrument, a new kind of artwork. Learn something that is very, very new for you in front of other people. And here's why I think that that can be very, very valuable. That it teaches you about teaching. I'll tell you a brief story. Several years ago, my partner, my wife, Linda, and myself, we wanted to learn how to dance salsa. It's a Latin American style of dance. And we went to salsa classes. And I was actually so surprised at how vulnerable I felt when I was learning, when I became a beginner all over again. It made me feel like I was a little kid all over again, and that was a very powerful emotion. It really caught me by surprise. And whereas I'm a professional, I'm used to being up front. You know, I have a certain level of mastery and capacity to be in charge of the things that I do. And I feel like an accomplished adult most of the time. How easy it is to forget the acute vulnerability of being a learner all over again. And that experience was very, very useful to me, even though it was very uncomfortable. It reminded me of how vulnerable we are to shame and embarrassment when we're learning something new in front of other people, when they can see us be awkward, when others can see us be clumsy, when our failures are made public. And I noticed in myself that I became incredibly sensitive about the teacher's manner, the teacher's way of speaking to me, the way that I was corrected when I was dancing the wrong way around. That sometimes the intervention was empowering, it was filled with warmth and affection, and it helped me to trust, to not be afraid to make mistakes, to fail. And sometimes the teacher's manner made me reactive, made me resist the teacher. I didn't like the way that I was spoken to. And I'm not normally so sensitive, so acutely sensitive to the way people speak to me. But as a learner, all of those feelings came flooding back, and I had forgotten what it was like to be a kid in kindergarten or in primary school or in high school. I felt that was most useful. It brought to life the vulnerability of learning. It made it real again. And that it thereafter very strongly affected the way that I teach things to people. It helped me to remember when teachers were students. That's the greatest source of our teaching style to make us more effective. I think that there are two main areas where our past can strongly impinge on the emotional wellness of our students. The first is the area of the authority relationship, the style of authority that we believe in, the style of authority that we deliver, sometimes intentionally, sometimes very unconsciously. Do we use a shaming voice, a coercive, perhaps even cold voice with our students? Do we intimidate them? Do we disempower them with our voice? Do we expect them to be deferent, to submit? Do we expect obedience? Or do we also listen as guides? Do we show empathy? There's all of those factors surrounding the authority relationship. Are we authoritarian or authoritative? And that's an area that is most powerfully influenced by the experiences that we've had as children, up until we gain the freedom that is given us when we really become conscious, when we examine the way that we felt and as children and the way that we were affected emotionally by those who held authority over our lives. The other area is the area of failure and success, the way that we respond and react to our students' failure and success. How do we see that? Do we just praise success and ignore or mark down failure? Or do we honor both? Do we honor all the efforts to learn and to take risks? Do we want our students to be risk takers, adventurous learners, to be free to play in their learning? Because what's most understood now so strongly from neuroscience is that the more playful learning can be, the more effective it is. The better we become at problem solving, critical thinking, creative learning, innovative learning, and the better that we retain new information when there is a flow of passion and interest in the learning journey. So, to bring a new way to the classroom that is not merely repeating the past, by all means keeping the things that were useful from the past, but not being bound and stuck by our past. To bring new ways, we can't really teach new things until we are embodying those ways ourselves. And to do that, what's important is to intentionally recall our own experiences as children and as students.